She's alive. Alive!
All right, so I know we missed Horrorverse headlines last week, but we gave them a freebie, a big 2.5 hour long on the incels.
Sure did.
So we have that. And unfortunately, this week we're going to skip out again on you because, to be honest, hang on one second, so you can see this on camera.
It's amazing outside.
Do you see that all out there? There's a fucking sun out there. We don't see that often in Ireland, so we're taking the fucking day off. We're getting the hell out of here and we're going to go get our tan topped up, yeah? But
I'll burn.
next week there'll be 2 red people sitting. We'll be like fucking
Ross.
your pretty face is going to hell with all the red. But so you were saying though earlier on that you were a little worried because we moved Mini Monsters along about a year ago now. We moved Mini Monsters off of our main feed and onto just the Patreon feed, and that you were worried people wouldn't realize that they could still get to those free episodes on
people did
Spotify.
enjoy those episodes. Yeah.
So what we're going to do this week on the Horrorverse headlines, if you keep listening, we are going to play you a few of our favorite Mini Monster episodes for this week. Yeah. And then next week we'll come back with all the horror and true crime news that we can find. So yeah, that's about it. Stick around, listen to some of our favorite Mini Monsters. And if you want to hear more, we're going to put the link in the description below, which I'm going to start doing for all our shows. When you see a promo now, there's going to be a link underneath so you can get right to it because it's very easy to get to it on Spotify, to be fair. I think they're going up on YouTube as well. We're going to start putting them up on YouTube as well. Make it a little easier to get a hold of them, okay?
Yeah.
So go check them out and check this out. This is going to be fun. I'll put 5 or 6 of them up there. It'll be a nice little selection.
Put the skunk ape up. Everybody likes the skunk ape.
The skunk ape. And Jeff the talking mongoose.
Jeff the talking mongoose.
I love Jeff.
I like Jeff.
Even though Jeff scares me a little bit, to be honest.
I don't understand that. I've
told you why Jeff scares me.
I get it. You've explained it to me.
Otto the Otter, terrifying. Otto the Otter scared the living piss out of me as a child. And as soon as you start talking about Jeff the talking mongoose, he is what comes into my head.
Anybody outside our Ireland audience should look up Rimini Riddle.
It's hard to fucking find. You got to go up. You got to go on to lost footage or something like that, the archive or something.
I got like a 10-second clip.
There's little tiny clips of it on YouTube, but nothing huge. I don't think.
Rimini Riddle. I can't even spell it properly.
Well, while she's looking that up, I'm gonna go get my sun cream out and my mankini ready, and we're heading to the beach. See y'all next week. Enjoy the Mini Monsters.
See you later. In September 1931, the Irving family of the Isle of Man, namely James, Margaret, and their 13-year-old daughter Vori, reported strange sounds coming from behind the wooden panels of their farmhouse. They described persistent scratching, rustling, and vocal noises that reminded them of a ferret, a dog, or even a baby. The family claimed that a creature named Jeff introduced itself, declaring that it was a mongoose born in New Delhi, India, back in 1852. Vori described Jeff as being the size of a small rat with yellowish fur and a large bushy tail. According to the Irvings, Jeff claimed to be an extra clever mongoose, telling them that he was an earthbound spirit and a ghost in the form of a mongoose. He once boasted, "I am a freak. I have hands and I have feet, and if you saw me, you'd faint. You'd be petrified, mummified, turned into stone or a pillar of salt." They provided various accounts of Jeff's actions. He supposedly guarded their home, would alert them to the arrival of guests or unfamiliar dogs, and had even been known to extinguish the stove if they forgot to do so at night. He purportedly woke them up if they overslept, and instead of killing any intruding mice, he preferred to scare them off. The Irvings would feed Jeff biscuits, chocolates, and bananas, often leaving his food in a saucer that hung from the ceiling, which he would take when he thought no one was watching. He would accompany the family on market trips, always keeping his distance near the hedges while chattering away. The story of Jeff drew significant media attention, attracting journalists eager to uncover the truth about the creature. Many locals and visitors claimed to have heard his voice, though only a few reported actually seeing him. Author Arthur Morrison, who visited the Irvings, asserted that while he slept in their home, he could see a pair of yellow eyes looking at him from beneath the bed. 2 teenagers, Will Cubbin and Henry Hall, reported encountering Jeff in Cubbin's yard, describing him as yellow with a black spot on his tail. Unfortunately, no solid evidence emerged to support these claims. Footprints and hair samples touted as evidence were traced back to the Irvings' sheepdog, and photographs claimed to show Jeff turned out to be misidentified. Margaret and Vaughry Irving left their farmhouse in 1945 following James Irving's death, reportedly selling it at a loss due to its haunted reputation. In 1946, Leslie Graham, the new owner, claimed to have shot and killed Jeff. However, the body he presented was black and white, significantly larger than a mongoose, leading Vaughry to assert that it was not Jeff. Vaughry Irving passed away in 2005. In later interviews, she maintained that Jeff was not a figment of her imagination. In July 1935, Richard S. Lambert, the editor of The Listener, along with his friend Harry Price, a paranormal investigator, travelled to the Isle of Man to explore the curious case. Their findings were published in the book The Hauntings of Cashin's Gap in 1936. While they refrained from stating outright that they believed the story, they aimed to present the information in an objective manner. The book details an instance where a hare thought to belong to the mysterious mongoose was sent to Julian Huxley, who forwarded it to naturalist F. Martin Duncan. He identified it as a dog hare, leading Price to suspect it belonged to the Irving's sheepdog, Mona. Price sought the expertise of Reginald Pocock from the Natural History Museum to assess paw prints supposedly left by Jeff in Plasticine, along with an impression of his alleged tooth marks. Although Pocock couldn't match the prints to any known animal, he remarked that one could potentially have been made by a dog. Importantly, he confirmed that none of the markings came from a mongoose. The journals of James Irving and various reports about the incident are kept in Harry Price's archives at the Senate House Library, University of London. During his visit to the Irvings, Price noted the double walls of wooden panelling in the old stone farmhouse, which created a substantial air gap. He observed that the structure resembled a large speaking tube, with walls acting like soundboards. Speaking into one of the numerous openings in the panels, he suggested could allow voices to carry through different areas of the house. Richard Wiseman commented that Price and Lambert were not particularly impressed by the case, concluding that only the most credulous individuals would find the evidence for Jeff convincing. Nandor Fodor, the research officer at the International Institute for Psychical Research, spent a week at the Irvings' home but neither saw nor heard Jeff during his stay. He was skeptical of any intentional deception and developed a sophisticated psychological theory to account for Jeff, attributing it to a split-off part of Jim Irving's personality. Although some investigators into the paranormal classified Jeff as a poltergeist or some other form of ghost, skeptics, particularly those from the Isle of Man, contended that the Irving family had conspired to pull off a hoax led by their daughter Vaughry. A reporter from the Isle of Man Examiner recounted an incident where he caught Vaughry making noises, only for her father to insist that the sounds originated from a different source. Researcher Joe Nichol has suggested that Vaughry might have employed ventriloquism and various tricks exacerbated by family members, sensationalist reporters, and gullible enthusiasts of the paranormal. Modern media scholar Jeffrey Sconce offers an intriguing perspective, proposing that this exceptionally clever mongoose was likely just an imaginary friend brought to life by the manipulative imagination of the Irvings' remarkably bright daughter. In 1937, Lambert filed a slander lawsuit against Sir Cecil Levita after Levita remarked to a friend that Lambert was unfit for a position on the board of the British Film Institute. He even claimed that Lambert was off his head for believing in a talking mongoose and the concept of the evil eye. Despite pressure from Sir Stephen Talents to drop the lawsuit, Lambert chose to go ahead and ultimately triumphed, winning £7,600 in damages. This amount was notable for a slander case and was awarded largely due to Lambert's legal team introducing a BBC memo that revealed his career had been jeopardised if he continued the lawsuit. This case later became famously referred to as the Mongoose case. The skunk ape is a legendary creature said to roam the forests and swamps of the southeastern United States, especially in Florida. Often seen as a relative of Bigfoot, this large, hairy being has captured the imagination of many in popular culture. Numerous articles have attempted to validate the skunk ape's existence, featuring anecdotal sightings, contentious photographs, audio and video recordings, and even casts of large footprints. However, most mainstream scientists tend to dismiss the notion of the skunk ape as a mix of folklore, misidentifications, and hoaxes rather than the real animal. Nevertheless, the skunk ape has become a notable part of the cultural landscape in the southern United States, particularly in Florida. Contemporary accounts of the skunk ape in folklore of Florida, Georgia, and Alabama have been reported since the arrival of European settlers. In 1818, newspapers in the area relayed a tale from what is now Apalachicola, Florida. This story described a man-sized monkey that was said to be raiding food supplies and monitoring fishermen along the shore. Additionally, some cryptozoologists have put forth claims, although these remain unverified, that Seminole and Miccosukee cultures include tales of a strong, elusive creature known as Esti Kapkaki, which can be roughly translated as furry tall man or hairy giant. In 1929, there was a curious sighting at the newly built Parkey Bat Tower in Florida Keys. Witnesses recounted an encounter with an unidentified creature resembling an ape that seemed intrigued by the construction site. Shortly after, bats were introduced to the tower, and this creature reportedly shook the structure, causing the bats to flee before it disappeared into the surrounding woods. Fast forward to 1942. A man driving through Suwannee County claimed that a similar creature darted out from the brush and clung to his vehicle, banging on the running board and door for half a mile before it finally let go. Meanwhile, in Barden, a small town in Putnam County, sightings of a creature that became known as the Barden Booger began surfacing in the 1940s. The 1960s saw a surge of reports in central Florida, particularly around Alachua and Marion counties. One incident in 1963 involved a family who had an unsettling encounter with an ape-like being lurking near their home, even approaching their window at night. Throughout the 1950s to the 1970s, reports of a creature known as the skunk ape became increasingly common. The Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization has documented hundreds of alleged sightings from various counties in Florida, dating back to 1955 and continuing to this day. In the 1970s, Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputies Marvin Lewis and Ernie Milner reported an unsettling experience involving an ape-like creature that followed them through a grove. They attempted to shoot at it and later discovered a trail of footprints alongside some hair caught on a barbed wire fence. Between 1971 and 1975, a wave of sightings occurred in Broward County and nearby areas. Numerous eyewitnesses encountered a 5 to 7 foot tall creature with dark red to black fur, mostly at night. These peculiar events attracted considerable attention in local newspapers, and even those in larger Florida cities like Miami helped to popularize the term skunk ape. Reports indicated the creature had invaded homes, stalked individuals, and even killed livestock, including a horse and a bull. After an officer claimed to have hit the skunk ape with his car, local police launched an investigation and posses were assembled to search for the creature, but no substantial evidence was ever discovered. In 1977, a bill aimed at making it illegal to take, possess, harm, or disturb anthropoids or humanoid animals was introduced, but ultimately failed to pass in the Florida state legislature. Since then, various wildlife tour operators in the Everglades and their guests have reported intriguing sightings. Notably, in July 1997, one operator, David Shealy, discovered wildlife bait stands filled with lima beans had been disturbed and found strange tracks nearby. After baiting several spots with more lima beans, multiple witnesses soon reported seeing a skunk ape in the area. Shealy and his colleagues suggested the unusual activity might have been prompted by seasonal floods pushing animals into smaller territories on higher ground. Tour operators Steve Goodbread and Dow Rowland also shared experiences of skunk ape sightings, asserting that the extreme heat and humidity along with the remote setting made a prank or fabrication unlikely. That same year, Okopi Fire Control District Chief Vince Dorr captured a photograph of what he believes is a skunk ape while driving. He claimed to have seen the figure cross the road before pulling over to snap a photo. Within a fortnight, over 50 individuals reported spotting a hairy creature within the Big Cypress National Preserve. In 2000, the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office received 2 anonymous photographs of a large, hairy, ape-like being. Accompanying the images was a letter from a woman who claimed that the creature had been stealing apples from her porch near I-75. Startled while trying to take its picture, she worried it might be an escaped orangutan posing a threat to her family. Dubbed the Mayaca skunk ape, these photos remain divisive, with debates over their authenticity still ongoing. Critics have pointed out that the creature bears a striking resemblance to a Bigfoot statue from a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum, but variations in the creature's position and expression across the photos raise questions about the validity of the hoax theory. Sightings persist into the present day, with 48 out of Florida's 67 counties reporting encounters since 2010. Many anecdotal accounts and purported visual evidence are often dismissed as fabrications or hoaxes. Skeptical investigator Joe Nickel suggests that some of these sightings might actually be reports of the Florida black bear, particularly those that show signs of mange. It's also likely that some sightings can be attributed to misidentification of other wildlife or deliberate hoaxes. Additionally, the United States National Park Service classifies the skunk ape as a hoax. The skunk ape has become a beloved symbol in Florida, representing the spirit of its wilderness and rural culture. You'll find this quirky creature popping up in roadside shops, attractions, and even on TV commercials and signs. Interestingly, during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, Orlando's Gatorland Park cleverly leveraged the skunk ape's infamous odour to encourage social distancing. Additionally, the skunk ape frequently takes the spotlight at various conferences featuring guest speakers, research presentations, trail running events, and an array of vendors. The Doulahan is a fascinating figure from Irish folklore, often portrayed as a mysterious headless rider astride a black horse or as a ghostly coachman carrying its own head. Costa gan Ceann, meaning headless coach, or Costa Bauer, meaning soundless coach, is the name given to the vehicle driven by the Doulahan. The Doulahan rides as a headless horseman, a spectral figure atop a black steed, sometimes gripping his own severed head in hand or tucking beneath his arm. The grotesque visage possesses a repulsive allure, reminiscent of Croker's chilling tale. The severed head has a revolting appearance, as in The Tale of the Headless Horseman. Such a head no mortal ever saw before. It looked like a large cream cheese hung round with black puddings. No speck of colour enlivened the ashy paleness of the depressed features. The skin lay stretched over the unearthly surface, almost like the parchment head of a drum. 2 fiery eyes of prodigious circumference, with a strange and irregular motion, flashed like meteors. Modern tales from Tony Locke of County Mayo cast the Doulahan in an even more ominous light. His mouth, lined with razor-sharp teeth, stretches into a grin that reaches the side of his head, while his massive eyes flit around as erratically as flies. The flesh clings to that head like the stench, colour and texture of decaying cheese. Whispers of legends introduce the headless coach, known as the Costa Bauer, with the Doulahan believed to be behind the reins. Robert Lind dubbed the Costa Bauer the soundless coach, recounting eerie tales of a silent shadow cruising past, shared by a witness from Connemara. Yet, the revered William Butler Yeats interpreted the deaf coach as the name for its ominous rumble. Only the soundless spectre of the horse-drawn hearse, the very essence of the soundless coach, is said to glide by. In Croker's haunting poem, The Death Coach, the carriage's axle is forged from a human spine, while thigh bones become its ghostly wheel spokes. A subsequent writer expanded on this macabre imagery, illustrating the 2 hollow skulls serving as lanterns, their depths flickering with candlelight, while the pall material of the hammercloth, mildewed by damp, reveals a grotesque tale of decay nibbled away by ravenous worms. A Doulahan, shrouded in dark mystery, manifests as a ghostly horseman or a grim coachman, steering an eerie horse-drawn carriage emerging from the shadows of graveyards. Whispers of the Doulahan often swirl around graveyards or charnel vaults, particularly where nefarious aristocrats are said to rest uneasily. This enigmatic figure drives the death coach straight to the doorsteps of the doomed, heralding the arrival of fate's grim reaper. Folktales tell us that sightings of the dreaded headless coachman spell imminent doom or calamity for those who witnesses it. In a recounting from Hanlon's Mill, we follow Mick Noonan on his return from a shoemaker in Ballyduff, County Cork. During his journey, he encounters a sinister black coach drawn by 6 headless black steeds, driven by a ghostly coachman, indistinguishable beneath his sable cloak. By dawn, the ominous premonition materialises when Mick learns from the huntsman that Master Rickson of Ballygiblin has succumbed to a fatal fit. In one haunting tale, Croker reveals that the headless coach would dart back and forth from Castle Hyde to a secluded glen beyond the village of Ballyhooly in County Cork. In the nearby town of Doneraile, a chilling tradition tells of the coach making rounds, and those who dared to open their doors would find themselves splattered with a gruesome basin of blood from the sinister drive. Legends also whisper that golden objects possess the mysterious power to make the Doulahan vanish into thin air, adding another layer of intrigue to this already chilling lore. A contemporary observer has suggested that the Doulahan possesses a chilling ability. Its severed head can scout the landscape, relentlessly searching for mortals on the brink of death. Yet, in stark contrast, the headless spectre in the eerie tale, The Harvest Dinner, is depicted as a blind thief, leading Croker to conclude that this phantom dwells in a world of darkness, utterly devoid of sight. The tension between foresight and blindness weaves an unsettling narrative that lingers in the mind. The Doulahan is said to wield a chilling instrument, a human spine transformed into a whip, as noted by numerous commentators of the 21st century. In Croker's tale, The Harvest Dinner, this headless coachman brandishes a long whip with such ferocity that he nearly blinds a witness with a single lash, an act so brazen that the would-be victim perceives it as a deliberate attack. Croker theorises this headless spectre, in a twisted manifestation of habit, seeks to damage the eye or eyes of anyone who dares to observe, driven by a fury directed at those who can see him when he himself cannot. In Croker's Fairy Legends and Traditions of the South of Ireland, a chilling section emerges dedicated to the eerie lore surrounding the headless beings known as the Doulahan. The tale, The Good Woman, recounts a peasant's encounter with a cloaked female who turns out to be a Doulahan. A peasant named Larry Dodd, a resident of White Knight's country at the foot of the Galtee Mountains, travels to Cashel where he buys a nag, intending to sell it at the Kildare Fair that June evening. He offers a ride to a cloaked female, and when he grabs her to exact a kiss as payment for the ride, he discovers her to be a Doulahan. After losing consciousness in the church ruins, he finds a wheel of torture set with severed heads and headless Doulahans, both men and women, and nobles and commoners of various occupations. Larry is offered a drink, and when he is about to compliment it, his head is severed mid-sentence. His head reverts when he regains his senses. However, he does lose his horse to the Doulahan.